Looking for this? I bet you didn't even know you were looking for this. And just in case you don't know what you were looking for, it's a cow horn. And in today's video, we're going to ask the pressing question, why do cows have horns? Welcome to part 2 of a deep dive into biodynamic agriculture. If you already haven't checked out part 1, I highly recommend that you do, so you can get the background and history into the philosophical basis for this fascinating agricultural system. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Magdiale WOLMARK. I'm a 2-time James Beard nominated chef for plant-based cooking, a certified biodynamic horticulturalist, and a Food Network competition cooking show champion in Clash of the Vegetarians. And in this channel, I dive into conversations that go beyond what we normally associate with health and nutrition. Conversations in esoteric philosophy, alternative medicine, and modern science that I believe we can apply to our practices in the kitchen. Now, before I backflip and deep dive down this rabbit hole, I want to pause for a second and reflect on the purpose of even exploring this issue. Ask yourself this question: are you satisfied with the amount of energy and vitality your current diet gives you? Are you relying on energy drinks or caffeine or some kind of supplementation in order to get that kind of invigoration that you should be getting from your food? Now, it's very easy to become complacent, especially when it comes to other forms of agriculture that do a pretty good job of providing us with decent food, like organic agriculture. Now, that's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. You can go into Walmart and buy organic Fruit Loops or something like that. But is it really healthy for you? Is it really giving you the nutrition that you need? My short answer would be no. And it's very easy for an organic farmer or people involved in the organic movement to dismiss biodynamic agriculture because, well, it's good enough, right? It's pretty good. But I'm not satisfied with pretty good. I want extraordinary. And you should demand that too, because that's what human beings deserve. Now, buckle up and get ready for a journey you won't soon forget. In my introductory video, I introduced you to this book, a compilation of lectures given by Rudolf Steiner in Koblenz, Poland in 1924 in response to requests from farmers and veterinarians who were observing the deterioration of soil and animal health due to the application of organic chemistry to agriculture. And Steiner responded to these requests by giving these lectures where he proposed indications for what later became the biodynamic method. And one of the most well-known of these indications or biodynamic preparations is called the Horn Manure. And part of this preparation is a female cow horn. Now, I want to describe what this indication is all about, referencing much of what Steiner says in his lectures. And in order to do that, I think the best approach is to go to our whiteboard. The 500, or horn manure, as it's also known, is raw cow manure or untreated cow manure that's packed into a female cow horn and then buried in the fall over the winter and excavated then again in the spring. And the mystery of how and why the horn manure is so effective, I hope to uncover right now. So here is our cow, and let's give her a name to bring her to life a little bit. Let's call this cow Viola. I chose that name because I'm reading a book now called Zanoni, and the female protagonist is named Viola. So it readily comes to mind. Now, one of the beauties of biodynamic agriculture is that biodynamic farmers do never dehorn their cows, because the horn is a very important part of the cow's anatomy. And Steiner describes the cow horn, in particularly the female cow horn, because the female cow, or the cow, which is the female, is the bovine agent of nutrition. I mean, we give cows, except perhaps in India where they have the sacred cow, but generally we don't give a lot of, respect or gratitude to cows, which really are in many ways the life of the farm and provide, in addition to milk and meat, they also generate fertilizer on the farm through their manure. And Steiner in Agriculture course asks us to consider the anatomy of the cow and how most of the body is fleshy and covered with skin, but in two particular places on the cow, the horn and the hoof, is a very kind of calcified, bony structure. And he says at these places is where energy is rayed back into the cow's digestive system. So Steiner establishes these living organic relationships between certain elements on the farm, like the cow manure, and the cow horn. And he identifies the cow horn as being a circulator of forces within the cow. And so he goes on to explain that because it has this function as part of the anatomy of the cow, that it can also serve the same function as a circulator of energies within the manure when it's buried in the earth over the winter, when he says the earth is most inwardly alive. And then cosmic forces that are streaming in from the outer planets that are received by the earth and rayed back up will be received by the cow horn and circulated throughout the manure in the cow horn, thereby amplifying the properties of the manure in the horn. In Agriculture course, Steiner spends a good deal of time explaining how, besides the energy and forces that come to the earth from the sun and the moon, that the earth also receives forces from the outlying planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And he says that these forces are absorbed by the earth particularly well during the winter, when he says the earth is most inwardly alive. Now, before you hit pause or swipe away when you hear cosmic forces, take a moment to think about all the invisible energies that we use on this earth. And if we didn't know the effect, we would probably doubt the cause, like radio waves or electricity or wireless telecommunication. And it's the same way with these cosmic forces. We might doubt that they are actually coming to Earth, but we see their effects in the horn manure. So we bury the cow horn in the winter when, like I said, Steiner says the earth is most inwardly alive. And because it is able to circulate these forces that are streaming in from the outer planets into the earth that are now rayed back up through the earth and into the cow horn. Now, to give a little bit more detail to how the forces are captured by the earth or brought into the terrestrial element is through the minerals of silica and limestone. And once again, Steiner describes how this is done. So it isn't just spread out or distributed randomly through the earth. It is these two mineral elements in the earth, silica and limestone, that actually receive the cosmic forces and ray them back up into the cow horn. Now, why are we doing this? What is the purpose of all this effort? Now, if you paid attention to the very beginning of my last video, when Steiner was asked why his spiritual philosophical teachings bore so little fruit, he said it was a problem of nutrition. Plants no longer have the forces necessary for people to develop the will to action to manifest spirit in physical life. And so the purpose of the horn manure and the other biodynamic preparations for that matter is to enable the plant itself to develop the sensitivity it needs so that it can access nutrients and forces in its own environment. Because, as we like to say today, everything is connected, and everything on the earth is connected to everything else in a kind of chain of life for existence. And that can be extended beyond the earth into the greater universe. Now, the horn manure is excavated in the spring, and then it's stirred into water to amplify the forces that have already developed in the horn during its underground winter burial. And this is done by taking some of the horn manure and adding it to a pail of water and then stirring it for an hour by creating a vortex in one direction, then collapsing that vortex in another direction, and doing this in a rhythmic fashion for an hour, thereby amplifying the forces in the cow manure. And you can kind of see the shape of the energy that's being poured into this preparation as a vortex. You can kind of see it in the cow manure. You can imagine it in the forces streaming into the earth. And now we finally recreate that vortex shape again when we stir the manure. I'm going to call my little farmer friend Zanoni, once again in honor of, oh, it's one N, still, Zanoni by Edward Bulwer Lytton. I'm reading this book right now, and I am only bringing this up to perhaps inspire you to read. So, because this is Zanoni, my farmer, and his beloved cow, Viola, who in the book actually is a beautiful young woman. But we've come to the sort of end of this cycle of the 500, the horn manure biodynamic preparation, because now our farmer Zanoni will stir the contents of the horn manure into his bucket for an hour, and then he will go out. And at the Pfeiffer Center, where I study biodynamic agriculture, I think we use like a paintbrush to sprinkle or spray the 500 onto the plants. And it's really not the substance, it's the forces that have accumulated in this preparation that are sprayed out onto the fields, whether they be vegetable beds or even pastures where the cows are grazing, and therefore continuing the loop of grazing cows, manure, and back into the cow horn for burial. Now, there are other biodynamic preparations. There's one other field spray called the 501, which is quartz crystal that's ground up and put into a cow horn and buried over the summer. And this is like complementary to the 500 field spray. And then the other biodynamic preparations, 502 through 507, are compost inoculants that are put into the compost pile in order to vitalize and invigorate the compost pile. Now, if you like this video and you want to see more content, please like and subscribe, and I will create another installation of this series on biodynamics because we're not done yet. If you're interested in learning more about biodynamic agriculture and other forms of agriculture as they relate to health and nutrition in the kitchen, I do offer online cooking courses. I offer nutritional coaching services, and I also offer private chef services. You can fly me anywhere in the world and I will cook for you. I provide links in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.